My name is Avdesh Dikshit, and I am the head of HR and CSR for Moody's Corporation. In my capacity as a department head for CSR, obviously there is very active involvement in terms of leading the CSR activity and leading the developmental, social development work that my company is involved in. So MathLab is a very interesting concept, and we are working with one of our NGO partners who met us a few years back, and they said, is there any alternate way and more interesting way to teach mathematics and excite people about mathematics? Now, if you see, we are a very research and analytics oriented company, and mathematics and statistics is at the core of some of the business activities that we perform. Now, when we met this NGO partner and we got very excited about developing some kind of a math labs in some of the government schools in Delhi, and we shortlisted some 3 schools, and we have set up a full-fledged math lab. Now, the concept is teaching mathematics and analytical ability through a very alternate way of alternate pedagogy, I would say. So how do you make mathematics much more interesting? And that was the core idea with which we and one of our NGO partners has started this work. And I'm very pleased to tell you that there are 3 schools which are functioning. We are already in discussion with the NGO partner, and the NGO partner is in discussion with the government to see if we can expand that initiative to multiple schools. And our experience has been that students have really liked it. This is for typically 8th, 9th, 10th, and that kind of level of students. The students have liked it. The students have liked the fact that mathematics can also be fun. It can be taught in a very different manner. And the whole fear around mathematics and stats, I think with this kind of intervention has really gone away. And we are very, very committed to taking it to more schools in future. Now, the village that we have adopted in the Himalayan region is again a very, very interesting concept. This started again some 2 to 3 years back, where we thought that, is there a case for us as a company to make some kind of intervention on livelihood, and that to livelihood which is not one kind of intervention, one time intervention, I would say, but an intervention which is much more sustainable. In fact, I'm going to be speaking about sustainable livelihood in the afternoon. But then the idea of adopting this village was to try and make multiple interventions around education, intervention around how do you raise the income levels of the people, how do you take their agricultural produce, add value to the agricultural produce so that the income levels can go up, and there is a livelihood which is sustainable livelihood which is created inside the village itself. We are in the 2nd year of funding for this project, and I'm very, very pleased to let you know that this project has really taken off extremely well, to the extent that there are villages around this area who are interested in we going and making the similar kind of intervention with them. But in nutshell, if I can describe this project is all about creating sustainable livelihood. Right, Now, this is a very interesting question, in the sense that if you look at India as a country, I guess one of the positive aspects of our economy is the kind of demographic dividend that we have. Now, it can get extremely dangerous as well if we are not using this demographic dividend in the right manner. We have a very, very young population, and I guess everyone has to be educated, and everyone has to then that education has lead to employability and employment, I would say. So I think one of the most important sectors for us as a country to focus is to look at education, and then how do you link education with employability and taking the income levels of families upwards. So that's one area I would say that we as a country need to be focusing on. The second area is, I would say self-employment or entrepreneurship. So while you can educate people to go and find employment with the government sector, with the private sector, but there has to be a more concerted effort with respect to CSR organizations, the entire ecosystem, whether it is corporate, the government, or I would say, not-for-profit organizations to make an impact on entrepreneurship, where the aim has to be how do you build capacity towards more self-employment, more entrepreneurship development, and I guess that's going to go a long way in terms of creating an ecosystem where people are not only looking for jobs but are in a position to provide jobs.
Thank you, sir. Sir, keeping the quantitative calculations aside, which do you feel amongst your programs and activities has been the most fruitful qualitatively?
I think every program has a quantitative dimension to it. When we start doing any kind of a program, we do some kind of baselining, and based on the baselining, there is a regular monitoring in terms of how that baseline is moving to achieve the intended objectives of the program. Now that's on the quantitative side. The quantitative side is all about setting the baseline, continuously measuring the impact and looking at whether the outcomes that you envisaged are getting met or no. But beyond the quantitative side, I guess the fun is in network. The fun is in the fact that we and our teams can go and visit some of these communities and can get involved with them. I think there is a joy which comes with interaction, the interaction that we have with the community. There is a joy which comes in looking at the smiles of millions of hundreds and millions of students when we go and meet them in various parts of the country. We may not end up supporting all of them, but there is surely a passion and the experience of joy that you go through apart from the quantitative measures. No, I would agree that CSR is very mainstream. This event that you're organizing, look at the number of participants, look at the kind of involvement and the buzz that you have created. Is it not a testimony to the kind of attention, the kind of importance, and the kind of leverage that the CSR department or the CSR function has within the organizations? And it's not only the corporate sector CSR department gaining importance. I guess the entire ecosystem is gaining important with the UN goals, development goals, and with so much of discussion happening around climate change all over the world, and the government of India, focusing on a lot of social action, the climate action. My belief is that the CSR as a function is only going to gain more importance. More needs to be done. Obviously, more needs to be done. But having said that, I would say that we have come of age, and CSR departments are extremely crucial to any organization, government, non-government, private. It really doesn't matter. I guess the time has come for people to focus on CSR.